Ben, you want to tackle this first email on our agenda?
Yeah. So this one's about scholarships with a below 25th GPA. Hi, Ben and Nathan. I'm writing in to disagree with your claim on the most recent episode. The applicants with GPAs below the 25th percentile can't get scholarship money at law schools.
Okay.
Okay. I went to an undergrad school without grade inflation. Our average GPA is a 3.1. A 3.6, which is most law schools' 25th percentile, is our top 10%. And only 11 out of around 50,000 students graduated with a 4.0. Yet every year we send students, I know some of them and their stats personally, to the top 14 with scholarships. I also have friends from other schools without grade inflation, for example, M.I.T, some other tech schools,
Wellesley.
Wellesley, Swarthmore, Reed, formerly U Chicago, and Princeton. And I've seen them outperform their GPAs in terms of admissions and scholarships. Okay. So exceptions to the rule.
Yes.
I also found many examples of lower GPA candidates who still get multiple scholarship offers on LSAT, or what is this place? Law School Data.
Right.
Here's a 3.4, 169 who got 1.2 million in scholarships, several more where that came from when I just opened up different law schools, sort acceptances by GPA, low to high, and check out the scholarship column, and sometimes open up those scholarship recipients and see what other schools they got money at. Okay. I mean, one thing that's in the back of my head is like, where are these scholarships coming from? Are they coming from schools that are actually, like below the 25th percentile? I mean, I'm sure this person is checking that out, but
yeah,
I don't know. What I've heard is that scholarships are based on how much a school wants you to come, how much they think you won't come unless you make it cheaper for them. Makes sense that your GPA and other U.S. News and World Report aspects would be a lot of that, but law schools also need other things, including diverse classes. I've heard some schools implicitly or explicitly save a lot of their scholarship money to recruit underrepresented minorities. So my second counterpoint is that being underrepresented seems to positively impact scholarship offers and help to counteract a subpar GPA. I definitely agree with that last point.
I agree with all of this, but I have some thoughts. This, by the way, comes from one of our team members who wanted to be anonymous on the show. And I really appreciate the feedback. We are very open to being corrected here at Thinking LSAT. We do some wild speculations from time to time, and not all of those wild speculations are correct. 3 points here. She's got 3 paragraphs. First thing is, as far as schools like Wellesley, Swarthmore, Reed, etc., yes, law schools know that those schools do not have ridiculously inflated grades. And when we look at the data on the 509 reports, we see the 25th percentile, 50th percentile, and 75th percentile for each school. I'm thinking that the people who get the scholarships with low GPAs because they went to Wellesley, Swarthmore, Reed, etc., yeah, those are people whose GPA is in the 25th percentile for that school. And there is some room for that because those people are exceptional. I just, I don't want people, I think our advice is normally targeted toward people who went to, San Francisco State. Not to insult San Francisco State, but it's easy to get good grades at San Francisco State. And if you got bad grades at San Francisco State, you're not going to get a law school scholarship with your 3.0 from San Francisco State the same way you're going to get a law school scholarship with your 3.0 from MIT. Her point is well taken here, that yes, if you did go to one of these exceptional schools that have exceptionally low average GPAs, then law schools are going to be more willing to make exceptions for you, especially if you have a high LSAT score. We should think about this. I mean, maybe there is some way to incorporate this into the scholarship estimator. By the way, that's lsatdemon.com/scholarships if you want to play around with some numbers.
You wait,
and look
hold
at
up
what
though.
some scholarship
One
estimates
thought
might
about
look like.
this.
Yes.
So the numbers that we get on the 509 reports, the 25th percentile,
Yes.
the 50th and 75th, right? They are for the class as a whole. And that class, if it's a higher ranked school, then presumably it's going to have more of these exceptional schools. And so those numbers are naturally going to come down or whatnot to accommodate for that. So I'm not saying they're going to come all the way down, because you're going to have a bunch of schools in there that aren't exceptional or don't have grade inflation or whatever. But like those numbers that we're getting are their class.
Yeah,
So,
it still does. Right. No, if you have your, you were like the valedictorian of MIT and you had a 3.2, that still does lower the 25th percentile LSAT score, or sorry, GPA for whatever school admits you.
and I think that school, if it's a highly ranked school, is going to have more of you, more people like you.
Yes, but there are still so few of you in the population that well, I guess what I'm saying is they can make exceptions for up to 25% of their school. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the person who's exactly at the 25th percentile who sets their 25th percentile GPA.
Sure.
If they're going to make an exception for you, you could have a 2.1 and they could make an exception for you.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not going to actually change the 25th percentile. Not to say that they actually would do that, because they want you to have as good of grades as you could possibly have gotten at your school. And if they know that 3.2 is like an outrageously good GPA for your school, then you might be the one that they want to make an exception for. I guess what I'm saying is they're just not going to make exceptions for people who don't go to these kinds of schools. And I think that people who go to these kinds of schools are in the dramatic minority.
Sure.
Right? Because I mean, there's plenty of great schools that do inflate grades. Okay, second point about the law school data thing. The only thing I want to say about that is that that's self-reported data, and we have to take a big old grain of salt when we look at that stuff. So it sounds like she's clicking around from school to school to school going, well, look at this person who had a 3.4 and got $1.2 million in scholarships, or look at this school, because she's looking at the law schools and saying, sorting the acceptances and checking out the scholarship columns and seeing that some of the people had low GPAs and still got scholarships. Well, I think two things at once here. One, it could be that these are exceptional applicants and there are going to be exceptions made for exceptional folks. Two, it's all self-reported data. So as far as we know, half of that could be bullshit anyway.
Well, wait, what I don't understand is, even if it's legit, the 3.4 could be above the 25th percentile. I realize she's saying that most law schools 25th percentile is 3.6, but is that even true?
Right. We speak broadly on the show, Ben. We're talking to a broad audience. On average, people are average. And so lots of times we make statements or claims on the show that are aimed at the typical applicant. If we say you're not going to get a scholarship with a 3.1, what we mean is you're normally not going to get a scholarship with a 3.1. But yes, there are exceptions for exceptional candidates from exceptional schools. The last point, as far as underrepresented minorities, we know for sure that's a thing. We haven't yet figured out how to account for that in the scholarship estimator because we don't know. It's hard to put numbers on how much of a thing it is. But yes, we absolutely know that law schools do have different admission standards for underrepresented, I don't know why I can't say that word today, minorities. And that's true even in the scholarship realm, because they genuinely do want to have diverse classes. And it's real hard for them to get diverse classes if they only use LSAT and GPA. And so, yeah, URMs tend to kind of filter up because there's so few of them. I mean, by definition, they are underrepresented in law school. So there are few of them available, and law schools want to be diverse. And so, yes, they will be more generous with admissions, and they will also be more generous with scholarships to try to admit you. I have asked our team to investigate putting a check mark on our scholarship estimator where you can check the box for URM and then have it tweak the numbers. But at best, we're going to be guessing how much that tweak is actually worth.
We do have sort of I feel like we have an upper bound. Remember that video from like one of the very first
that was like
episodes?
episode 4. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I feel like the number he said was you're not going to go beyond 5 points.
5
like,
LSAT points.
LSAT points. I didn't talk about GPA and I don't remember, or maybe he did, but I don't remember. But I just remember that number sticking in my head. Like he was saying that some URMs are applying to schools that are maybe 10 points outside of their range. And they're going, oh, it's okay. I'm a URM. He's like, look, the school isn't going to go that far.
Right. Well, as far as the scholarship estimator is concerned, I want to be clear that it is an estimator. It looks like a calculator, and maybe sometimes we slip up and refer to it as a calculator, but it's an estimator. And in order to be good scientists, Ben, I've asked the team to basically be explicit about our assumptions, right? Because that's the best we can do. Make some assumptions, do some calculations, but I would like for us to be straightforward about what those assumptions are, and also be open to changing those assumptions, because all we're really trying to do is get as close to truth as we can, right? We just wanted to make a tool that would be useful to people.
And one of those assumptions is that what is true for last year is going to be true for this year, and that certainly could go out the window. Yeah. But at the very least, my hope is that if you were thinking about a school, or maybe you weren't thinking about a school, and you put your numbers into the estimator and it says, hey, we think you might get some money here, or maybe full tuition or whatever, at least that idea in your head is a negotiating piece, right? Like at least start thinking about schools that might give you money. It's an estimator, so we don't know for sure, but that's what you should be pursuing. And, a lot of this is going to hinge on your asking, but hopefully this will motivate you to ask.
The purpose of the tool is to give you an idea what range of schools you should be applying to. So, you're not going to know your actual numbers, your actual offers until you get your actual offers and then renegotiate those offers. So it's meant to be a place where you can go to put in your LSAT, put in your GPA, click submit, and get an idea of the kinds of scholarships that you might be able to get at the kinds of schools. And it's necessarily a rough tool. We'll make it better over time, but it's not real dollars. It's estimated dollars, and your results necessarily will vary. We're trying to get as close as we can to the truth.